All right. I think I finally figured out enough of this stuff. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a great New Year. I wanted to go over a couple things that have been going on and just kind of give you some updates. I had mentioned during my last live stream that there was a project that I was working on, and I kind of got into a point where I just wanted to share what's been going on and kind of let you know what's going on with that. So anyway, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit that bell icon down the bottom on YouTube, and yeah, if you like these kind of videos, then we would definitely love to have you. So the last couple of years, I've kind of gotten out of doing the investigating in the sense of just my family life and everything like that, but I have been focused more on the tools and device side of things, and I noticed that what has been going on has been that since it's a very niche industry, a lot of the devices that are in the field, they're charging an exorbitant amount of money. We're talking like $500-$600 for a device, and I just realized that, with all the mobile applications that I've used in the past with Ghost Radar and things like that, that what we're dealing with is we need to make it more open source. People need to be able to focus on the code. They need to be able to build it for themselves. They need to be able to modify it, and that's just not available right now. So that's where it comes into. I have designed a Ghost Radar-like device. I actually got the first iteration of it right here, and this is kind of a bad example because I actually tried turning it on earlier before I started the live stream, and it is just flashing a screen for right now, so I don't know what happened with that. But so right now, if you go on, if you look down in the description, there's a GitHub link that will take you to the code. And ultimately, long term is we're going to have instructions, documentation. You're going to have access to the source code, and all of that will be in the GitHub repo, and it'll be on my website as well. So, like I said, this all started because I noticed that in this community, tools were sold at a very high end, and all of these things that we're going to be talking about are things that you can pick up off the shelf. This is all very basic stuff. None of this is complicated. So I noticed that the difference with investigating paranormal activity is most of this is, like I said, it's either a hobby and there's really no scientific basis, and so that's where I come in. So the solution is, I will admit, I'm a bit of a skeptic. I like to see the evidence, and I think that a lot of times when we watch these shows on TV or we're experiencing these things, it's different than what our ultimate goal should be, which is to make this more of a scientific approach, and I don't think that that's being done. So the solution is simple. Most activity, like I said, has little or no basis to stand on. Most of the investigations lack structure. They cross ethical boundaries. I mean, you could watch that in any of my earlier videos. Or they just don't read the room correctly. I've noticed a couple investigations where they completely overlook some possible signs of mental illness or mental health issues, environmental conditions. I mean, it's been proven that carbon monoxide, lack of sleep, that could all cause situations where people think that they're experiencing something paranormal. In reality, it's that. So the great news is, like I said, I have this device right here. This is the first iteration of it. This was the one that I designed probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago this time, and it is terrible. It didn't do exactly what I wanted to. The code did not work the way I wanted to, and to be honest, I just scrapped it. So, but everything that is inside of here, if you can get it to work right, which is the goal, is less than $100. So, I mean, right now you have inside of this, I'll show you the actual one that I'm working on. So version 2 is this one right here, and it's still on a breadboard. I'm still kind of fishing out some ideas with it. But I'll let you see the introduction screen. If you pull that up real quick, it says Ghost Radar version 1. And let's see here, has our website. It says Researching the Paranormal, and it says an open source project. So I got that up and running last night. I sat there for about an hour just kind of playing around with some of the libraries to get it to show up on that screen. I had a hell of a trouble getting it to work, but I found out that my breadboard, for whatever reason, is broken because I kept having it not load up the screen. And I'm like, I have everything wired correctly. Why is it not working? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to pull everything off the breadboard, just connect it directly to the microcontroller, and bada boom, bada bing, it popped right up. So anyway, again, all of this is going to be open source. All of this is going to be based off of a very cheap, very, very, very useful microcontroller, which is this one, is the ESP32. And, you know, in this case, with this screen, I have this tiny little SPI TFT display. And, for example, this is a temperature and humidity sensor. And this is a, I think it was an accelerometer and gyroscope. So you can get these off of Amazon and eBay or Alibaba if you wanted to, and like I said, it's all less than $100. The other thing was, like, I did have a case that I started to put it into, but you know, I have the 3D printer over here, so I'm probably going to go that route. But just to kind of show you what it looks like inside of the case, that's what the screen will look like on the outside. But I didn't really have I kind of had to get creative because I didn't know where my Dremel was at, so I had to get creative when I was cutting it out. So anyway, the idea behind it is, and I will go through a demonstration showing you what the code is, but before I get there real quick, the idea is that when we have a fully working product and we have this deployed for investigators, you can build this very cheaply. You can add functionality for the rest of the community. I was noticing that a lot of times when people are investigating, especially say in the Southwest, where you have a lot of these ghost towns and a lot of cowboys and Indians and a lot of death that happened back then. But they never really take into consideration that, there's also maybe people communicating in another language, like Spanish, for example. And so the way the code is designed is if you are Spanish speaking, if you speak German, if you speak French, you can help us by putting that library together and putting it into our GitHub repository, and you can put that into your device. And I would be very interested to see what you come up with. I was actually thinking, because I've been reading the Bible and studying that recently. I was like, man, that would be kind of cool. You go to Jerusalem with this device, and it has like Aramaic in it, and see what you come up with there. But anyway, I don't think there's a lot of people speaking Aramaic nowadays. So one of the main reasons why I chose this particular controller is that it is very fast. It has built-in Wi-Fi, has built-in Bluetooth. If you have any familiarity with the ESP32 in particular, it is a very capable unit. And yeah, actually, to be honest, this right here is actually the microcontroller right there at the very top. The bottom part of this is just a development board. So version 3 will actually be a custom designed PCB. It will be plugged into, and you'll have that as a option. Now, all of this long term we will be selling on our website, but for the meantime, the expectation is that you will be able to build this yourself and be able to be able to work with the community to get it built however you need to, or if you're capable enough to be able to do it yourself. So it's still got a ways to go. There is, like I mentioned before, I do have a demo that I'll show you real quick. And it is written in Python because that is where my, I wouldn't say quite expertise, but that's what I feel comfortable writing in. Ultimately, this will be written in C++, which going from Python to C++ is, there's a significant difference between being readable and being somewhat readable. So I'm still kind of coming to terms with the fact that Python is limited in this capacity, especially with working with microcontrollers. So this will eventually be written in C++, and it may possibly be written in MicroPython, but from the research I've done, there's not a lot of libraries. You know, C++ just has a ton of libraries, and this ESP32 has a ton of libraries for it. So we're gonna do it in C++. So let's go run through the code real quick, and I'll show you. Like right now, I have it on GitHub. It's this main.py. You run that in Python, and you will get some interesting things. But we'll show you exactly what you're going to be getting when that time comes, which is right now. So I'll go back here. So let's go ahead and I will show you what it does. Now, the idea behind it is, if you've never used the Ghost Radar before, is that you are able to take environment readings such as temperature and humidity and electromagnetic signals, radio signals, all of this, and using an algorithm, pick a word out of a database. And the idea is that if you are into some sort of paranormal activity, that you are able to communicate. And if you watch any Ghost Adventures, you'll see that communication using the Ovilus device. So the idea is to build something very similar to that, but again, to make it completely open source and flexible for people that are capable to be able to utilize it in the field or help develop the project. And yeah, so we've talked enough about that. Let's get right into it. So we're going to go Python main.py. So the way that the demo is working right now is Python is using a random number that is mimicking data from the sensors. So the idea is the more sensors we have, the more complexity is going to be coming into the algorithm, and it will be more capable for paranormal activity to pick a specific word that may be relevant to what you're asking. So when we run Python, this main file, it's going to just basically print out some text. Let me see, can I zoom in here? Let me see, can I just do, oh yeah, that may look a little bit better. Let's see here. All right, so I think that gives us enough idea. So it starts out by all of these setting up Wi-Fi, setting up LCD, all of that's, it's just text. That's all it's printing. It's not actually doing it in the background. But what it is doing in the background is it's printing out these words, and it's using that sensor data, and it's matching the sensor data to the letter map, and it's using that to see if a word in our database matches the buffer, and then it's printing it out on the screen. So you're getting hall, wolf, seam, and all of these individual dots right here are letters, but I have basically redacted them just to show you only the words that are actually being shown, and then I'm writing those in green. So that's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and cancel that. Again, it's all really rough here, so I can't even just close out of it. I have to stop it because it just keeps running. It doesn't even stop. So anyway, let's go into the code. And so this right here is this is the test sensors.py. So we're taking from the random module random integer. We're creating a function called test data, and then in here I just plugged in 3 different temperature sensors and humidity sensors, but again, it's not doing anything as of yet but it is returning an integer between 0 and 50 for the temperature because according to the data sheet, this right here is between 0 and 50 Celsius is the range. On the humidity sensor that's built into this as well, it's from 20% humidity to 90. So those are as accurate as I can get, but I don't expect it to fluctuate 10, 15, 20 degrees or humidity to fluctuate that much. So it's going to be, it's unrealistic at this point. But I wanted to show some pretty words. So, and then down here at the bottom, I just did a random sensor between -100 and 100. So when we call test data, it will return all of those sensors added together, and that is it. Now, as for the database, for all of the words, you can read up here. This one is actually using, where is it at? What is this one called? Let me go back to Ming.py. Yeah, so it's called English words, and it's an English word set. So I think it's like, gosh, it's like almost 30,000 words, or maybe, let me go down here real quick. So we have 27, it's starting on line 27, and then it goes all the way down to, oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, here we go. So, yeah, so it goes all the way down to like, we're talking like 25,000 plus words in the English dictionary. So my idea is that if you are a French speaker, or you're a Spanish speaker, or you speak Aramaic, or, I mean, anything you can think of, I want to try to get as many languages and just kind of go through this list and basically just plug in your appropriate word in there, and that would help us out dramatically. So I'm gonna probably rebuild the repository a little bit and kind of clean it up to kind of make it easier, add some more documentation in there. But for right now, that's what we're dealing with. So let's go back to main.py. So this is the actual program we were running earlier that was just demonstrating all those words. So in here we have a setup function. We print initialize Wi-Fi menu. We start a small loop. Once it's done with all the setup stuff, it returns false. And then in here we have the main function. This is what's constantly looping over. We have a dictionary that is called letters, and it's basically every letter from A to Z. And then we have what's called the buffer, which is just an empty string. So the idea is that we are going to come down here at the bottom, and we're going to add in those letters to the buffer. So, and this part right here is the buffer length. So every time it runs a cycle in this loop, it's going to check, it's going to print 25 letters, and it's only going to return if the word inside of that database is 3 letters or 3 letters longer. This is about the best one I could. I tried putting 6 and I didn't get any words whatsoever. I tried putting 5, same thing, 4, same thing, 3. It was occasional 2. It was just completely crazy off the wall. Everything was, finding words, which is understandable. So then it runs a setup function, which is, you saw all those print statements earlier. And then this is the part that kind of threw me off a little bit when I was writing this, because I was trying to figure out how to do this right. But so it's called letter map. Because you only have 26 letters in the alphabet, but you have a range that is between 0 and, in this case, I think the highest sensor data we had was 100. So yeah, so you have from -100 to 100 is all of the sensor data that you're going to be returning. So for all of those letters, we have to match up a range of letters to that specific range. And so the more sensors you add, the more complexity you add into it, and so the bigger the range, and then the more specific the words end up getting that you will, or sorry, I'm saying words, but I mean letters. So the more specific letters you're going to be getting for those specific values. So, and that's basically what it is. So if I print letter map, you'll see it will actually show like the first 11 characters are A, the second 11 are B, the third 11 are C, so on and so forth until it gets to 300. So right down here, the idea is that we are checking the length of the buffer if it's reached that maximum. If it's reached 25, then we need to move on to the next section. Each time it goes through that loop, it adds that letter to the buffer by pulling the test data and matching that index of letter map to the test data -1. Since it's 0 indexed, we have to subtract it by 1. So anyway, we'll get an out of range index error on there, so we don't want to do that. So then for the word in English word set, so for each of those 27,000 words, we're going to be checking if the length of the word is greater than the minimum length. So that's where that comes into play. And then if the word is in the buffer, so in that 25 characters that is returned, if the word is in the buffer, then it will make a color green, it'll print the word, and then it'll keep it on that same line. So it won't, it'll keep it one after another. It won't produce a new line, so I just added that in statement on there. And then if it isn't, then it just prints a period at this case. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it just does that over and over again. So again, this is all for demonstration purposes. This will eventually be plugged in with real sensor data, and we'll see what's going on at that point, and we'll adjust it as necessary. I'll show you. Did I show you all this already? Yeah, I think we already talked about that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for your support. I'm excited